Insurgent bombings and fierce fighting continue in Afghanistan, even as coalition forces begin their drawdown. There's considerable debate about whether the Afghan government will be able to maintain control of the country and keep terrorists out when the time comes. But after a lengthy investigation, the International Institute for Strategic Studies concludes that it probably will. In a 300-page book published this month, the Institute says Western nations will need to provide military and financial support for Afghanistan far beyond 2014. But the book's editor, Toby Dodge, says with that in place, the Afghans should be all right.
Now, the principal conclusions of this volume and of the final chapter is that Kabul will probably prevail because the central government has amassed sufficient power to ensure that the centre will hold.
Still, the authors say the Kabul government will need what they call muscular diplomacy from its allies and some foreign military presence after 2014, although not for day-to-day combat. Retired British Brigadier Ben Barry wrote the book's military chapter.
Quite clearly, there might be a requirement for residual military support, for example, intelligence gathering, and some countries might wish to retain intelligence personnel and special operations forces to counter jihadists.
But Barry notes that Afghan officials might not want that. The Institute's relatively positive outlook is not shared by all experts. Among the doubters is Jonathan Goodhand, an expert in the politics of economic development at the University of London School of Oriental and African Studies.
I personally would be less optimistic than that for a number of reasons. Firstly, it all depends on the nature of the political settlement in Afghanistan. If there is going to be some kind of stability, it depends upon a peace process and peace talks with the Taliban. And there are so many unknowables around that.
Goodhand says without a broad reconciliation process that's accepted by the people and regional powers, Afghan forces like these elite special operations troops will be very busy after 2014. Still, the IISS authors believe Afghanistan will get through the transition with help from its foreign allies.
There is a debt of responsibility from NATO, from the United States and from the United Nations after backing and carrying out regime change to the Afghan people, but also there's a hard-nosed strategic interest to make sure that particular slab of geography does not become a platform for launching attacks against the international community.
But little of that help will be military, leaving the Afghan forces to go it mostly alone against whatever is left of the Taliban and other armed opponents. Pessin, VOA News, London.